What's good, y'all? Happy morning to y'all. Late happy Cinco de Mayo for those of y'all that celebrate. Pretty sure a lot of y'all did. I didn't so much, not with any cervezas or tacos, but definitely in spirit, So definitely is what it is there. But speaking of spirit or anything along those lines, you can see here, we're promoting Mental Health Awareness Month, and just want to remind y'all, definitely go and get your mental health checked out. I definitely have an appointment that I need to make, and need to get that taken care of. So just a little quick PSA on that. Definitely want to push mental health more than anything else. Simply for the fact that if for no other reason, I myself, as stated, I gotta get an appointment going. I've definitely have had some things to deal with in regards to that very matter myself, and hopefully if you're dealing with that the same way, you're having that handled accordingly, and I can only wish you the best from there. That being said, we want to go ahead and actually hammer out a couple of topics. As you see, it's going to be a mixed bag, and it's going to be a different kind of one because we're back to talking about wrestling now, at least a little bit here in this video, but it's going to be for a specific reason. As you'll see, at least a couple of these subjects here are something that I consider, just things that I don't know if I say hold near and dear, but I definitely take a lot of aspects of them personally. But that aside, we're going to actually start with Nuggets and Wolves. I gotta say, Game 1 was wild. If nothing else, I gotta say it's one of the funnest games I've watched in a long time. And in the long run, I also feel as if, we actually haven't seen the best of this series yet, One thing that I think we need to take into consideration is the fact that Mike Malone is a hell of a coach, He hasn't won Coach of the Year yet, which is interesting because you think about guys like Phil Jackson, Greg Popovich, neither of them won Coach of the Year all that many times, and he's actually doing pretty well of having himself in that category. Now, the thing about it is that this playoffs has actually been it's been quite an introduction to Anthony Edwards, which he proved that every bit Saturday night. And I gotta say, if this isn't the most dangerous man in the world as far as basketball is concerned, he certainly is well on his way to becoming the best player. I don't know any other way of looking at it. I mean, I just look at this dude, see what he does on seemingly a nightly basis, and it's just incredible. Now, before I move on to the next aspect of this, I do want to point out, again, I bring up Mike Malone because, he's been really great with his adjustments. He won the championship last year based on his adjustments, and all of them hit. He's obviously got to make some significant ones now, because if he doesn't, he's going to wind up seeing the Nuggets go down 0-2, and I don't think we want to see that here in Denver, because if we're being perfectly honest, having that happen going to Minneapolis with the way they've been recently and the way this team has been playing, I mean, that's going to be really, really tough to deal with, I gotta say, which brings me to the next point here. A lot of talk about a lot of this right here. Like I said, this is something that at the very least I certainly take a bit personally, and I would like to think in a healthy enough way, but I guess it depends on who you ask. But I say that because I've made no secret of it. Michael Jordan, in my eyes at least, and just even objectively speaking, I don't care how you want to dissect all of that, he's still the greatest of all time. However, this kid Anthony Edwards is something else. I mean, I'm thinking back, to a lot of the shit that I used to remember watching Jordan do, and I'm reminded of it with a lot of the highlights I see from time to time, and, Anthony Davis is that, and probably a bit more, if I'm being perfectly honest. You'll hear me go a lot further into this in another video, but I just feel like it's funny to me how, there's always been this discussion about the GOAT conversation, MJ versus LeBron. I mean, I hate to say it, but I feel like this right here is proof that LeBron has pretty much been phased out of that conversation. I mean, say what you want to about it, feel what you want to about it. I'm not going to look at it any other way, and I don't see how anyone else does at this point, because if we're being perfectly honest, I could go the easy route and harp on what I said in the previous video, specifically the LeBronalytics video, and, as I said, one head coach every 3-year average. I mean, I'm just going to leave it at that, but, in all seriousness, with the way that this discussion has been going, it's crazy to see how it's, how it's just elevated to this point, specifically with what Anthony Davis is doing. And I will acknowledge that should the Timberwolves win, and Anthony Edwards, if this team wins, it's largely because Anthony Edwards he's him. I mean, I'm not someone who likes saying that. I definitely wouldn't go as far as, ever declaring that about myself for any reason whatsoever, because that's just not me. But if there's anyone that I'm going to look at and say that's him, it's probably going to be Anthony Edwards. Now, moving on to a guy that also probably could be considered him. I'm a little late to this party as well, but my man OBJ over here gonna get on this I guess offensive onslaught party that they seem to have going with Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and we'll have Tua thrown to him. But it's crazy. If nothing else, I feel as if it's going to be really interesting to see how that works. I don't think anything about it is going to be indicative of what Tua's going to be as a quarterback in the league, but I will say that in the end, it's going to be just really, really interesting to see. It was talked about that the expectation that OBJ was going to end up signing with the Dolphins, and he ultimately did. I mean, I'm just looking forward to what the product is going to be like. Obviously, as a Broncos fan, it's going to be interesting. I'm hoping that if the matchup comes up again, we don't have to deal with that so much. I mean, I hope we don't give up 70 again, but, it's going to be interesting to see how the offense looks with this addition now. That's really all I know to say about it. But I'm going to end this off, and it's going to get a little bit controversial here. This guy, Drew Gulak. If you watch the WWE Backlash pay-per-view and even the post-show press conference, specifically the end of said press conference, it got a little dicey, if you will. I gotta acknowledge the fact that if I could ever talk about particular pet peeves that I have in just life in general, but even in wrestling, I would have to say that Triple H and Tony Khan definitely work those in the worst possible ways, but in different ways. On one hand, you have Triple H, who just doesn't handle certain questions correctly at all, and somebody really needs to work with him on that. So whereas with Tony Khan, I mean, I'm not even sure what he's thinking with half of this shit he not only does but says in some cases. I mean, it's wild because I think about how he is in, a lot of his promos and how he's been in interviews outside of AEW. But just the way they go about that is bad. But that's aside from the point. We're going to save that for actual wrestling video, which look forward to that very soon, probably today. I want to talk about this because this man here actually wasn't released like a lot of other superstars had been released within the last week or so. It was actually a matter of they let his contract expire, or at least that's how it was worded by Triple H. And I find that pretty interesting because, regardless of how I feel about how he answered the question, he would go on to follow up and talk about how, the details behind it weren't just anything surrounding Ronda Rousey, but there were other people involved in this too, apparently. It seems as though he preyed on getting matches to actually target certain people's injuries, and I feel like that's actually a pretty trash thing to do if you're asking me. In fact, if I could be perfectly honest about it, I'm sorry if I'm that person, especially dealing with injuries the way that I have, or not even injuries so much, just specific physical health issues, not even mental health, but like actual physical health issues, I'm wishing somebody would try to prey on me with that sort of shit, because I'm telling you right now, and say what you will about it, try that shit with me, I'm ending you on a fucking spot. I don't give a fuck who you are. Just know that right now. But, that's even aside from the point. The reality of it is, why would you go doing shit like this, And that's just given that, if this is true, which it seems to be, because, again, obviously they didn't bring his ass back. So, for all of that having been unraveled the way that it has, a lot of people that hate Ronda Rousey, and I'm not going to blame y'all for doing that. I get your reasoning behind that, but the fact of the matter is, we really got to get to a point to where we kind of temper our emotions about how we treat a lot of these things. Again, I speak about how, Triple H treats a lot of the hard-hitting questions that come his way, especially in press conferences, or even the way Tony Khan handles certain things. But that's just me expressing my perspective on that, and I'm not taking it any further than that. It's just something that actually, honestly, agitates me quite a bit. And I'm just speaking my piece on that. That's all it is. Now, with the way a lot of people have been treating it, it's just been a little bit extra. That's the real difference in that. But, that's just my take on all that. You can do what you will with it. And you know what it is. Like, share, subscribe, all that good groovy. And I'm going to get at y'all. But, yeah, I can't stand any firmer in what I am on this. I'll catch y'all later, though.